Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the Movie Manny podcast, episode number 4. This is going to be an awesome episode. I'm going to be interviewing Edda Manriquez, the founder of the Femtasia Film Festival. And just a little backstory, like before the interview, me and Edda had never met before, only communicated through email. Basically, we were connected through a mutual friend, Eddie, from episode 1, Eddie Garola of Popcorn Reef. Eddie's actually going to be a guest judge at the Femtasia Fest for the Gore Galore section. And I watched all the films. Edda sent a screener ahead of time where I can kind of check out all the films. Oh my God, there's so many good choices. There's so many good films in that selection. So I don't know how you're going to be able to select one, but it's amazing the quality of films that are at this film festival, the Femtasia Fest, which is happening in March in LA at Whammy Analog VHS store, which is freaking awesome. I can't wait to visit there, see all these films on the big screen. It's from like 7 p.m. to 11. So I had never met Edda before the interview. So I was very, very nervous going into it because it just was the nervousness of just not knowing and hoping I asked all the right questions and hoping I did okay. And it was the first time using a platform where I would do like a Zoom type interview too. So these were a lot of firsts because I usually am in the room with the person when I'm kind of interviewing them. You can kind of make eye contact and you can kind of flow with the conversation. But the whole time I did the interview yesterday, I guess my connection was bad because I could only see Edda in like glitches. She would say a word and then it would glitch. The audio would come through so I could hear her, but her video was kind of glitching. So I had to kind of really not get too distracted by the glitching and just listen to the audio, hear it, and just kind of nod and respond. And you'll see the video; it'll be edited out soon, so you can kind of see my face, kind of trying to, put the glitches together and everything. But I feel it went awesome. It was an awesome conversation. Meeting Edda was amazing, super nice person, super accomplished, super accomplished. I mean, she has a vision and she goes for it. And she's created this film festival that's gone on for over 10 years. It's a traveling film festival. They've gone to all different types of venues. And I'm telling you, when I saw all the screeners ahead of time for this film festival, there's so many quality films, so many films that deserve to be seen on the big screen. And also, animated films, psychotropic films, psychedelic films, experimental films. I was literally hypnotized. There's a section in the film festival called Belladonna of Madness, and it's about like 45 minutes of just your eyes glued to the screen. You feel like you're in a trance. One film bleeds into the other, and it's just freaking amazing. It's freaking amazing. I cannot wait to be there in the audience, watching that on the big screen at Whammy in LA in March. I'll put the dates down below. It's going to be amazing, and I'm so grateful for that interview. It was I hope to do more of those, so if somebody's not in San Diego, we can't meet in person, basically we have that option. And I had an awesome time, and I think it was a great interview. So, and you'll see soon. You just keep watching. It'll be soon. But I'm just so grateful for these conversations and meeting people that have taken things from their mind and put it into reality and just really went with it and kept it going. Sam Lopez from the Stay Strange, he has Stay Strange for over 10 plus years. Edda, who I'm interviewing now, she has this festival for over 10 years. It's just so awesome to see people that have that passion and keep that passion alive and have the discipline to keep it going and keep evolving and keep overcoming these little obstacles that come in the way. And they do it for the love of it. And they do it to showcase other filmmakers and to give other people opportunities, which is so awesome because you never know what you're going to see. You never know who you're going to meet when you go to these festivals. It's just so awesome. And it's always like the audience there is just people that just love the same thing you do. They're super creative. They love making videos in their head, and they love the visuals, and they love all that stuff. So if you do too, when you go to these festivals, you can connect with people. And that's what I'm trying to do through this podcast, is really use films as a way to connect. I'm so grateful to just be here doing this podcast, to have all these cool people in my life, to just have this life, to have a beautiful family with my wife and my daughter, and just so many cool friends. And I'm just so grateful that movies are coming out and that we get to go see movies in a theater, and that we get to have this entertainment in our life that is not only entertainment, but it also enriches us and teaches us empathy and all these beautiful emotions, and I fucking love it. I fucking love movies. I fucking love you. I fucking love everybody who's listening. I love San Diego. I love California. I love the United States. I love the Earth. I love our galaxy. I love what happens after that. I love the the whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing. All right, all right. Love you guys. Bye. Movie Manny out. It's a Movie Manny podcast. Awesome, awesome. We are recording Movie Manny podcast episode number 4. We have here Edda. Thank you so much, Edda, for joining us. I appreciate it. Like I was telling you, this is the first time doing a Riverside interview like this, where I'm in San Diego, you're in LA, and we've never met before.
Yeah.
So
No, it's great.
everybody,
It's like
everybody I've interviewed in the past, I've at least met before, I've talked to, and everything like that. So I'm just super excited to have Edda here, because Edda is the founder of the La Femme Underground International Film Festival. Did I
close, yeah.
pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, it's
Okay, so let me know what's the.
I know it's such a long name. So we're La Femme Underground International Film Festival, but we recently
Awesome.
rebranded as Femtasia Fest, so it's easier for
Nice.
people to say now.
Awesome. And when did that happen? When did the rebranding happen?
Yeah, so we actually applied to do a trademark for it 2 years ago, and so we had to wait till to do all this legal kind of things, and
Uh-huh.
officially this year we got the approval, and so we started kind of shifting everything towards it. So right now we're kind of
Nice.
in a stage. If you visit our website, our previous one was La Femme or what is it? La Femme Underground International.org, and then the new one's Femtasia.org. And so right now Femtasia.org is a little bit more bare bones, which is kind of what we wanted to
Okay.
have anyway. But the
Yeah.
rebrand makes it easier, so now it's just Femtasia Fest or Femtasia.
Awesome. And did you come up with the name Femtasia?
Well, actually, it was a collaboration. So a couple years
Awesome.
back, we collaborated with Non Plus Ultra, and so they're
Uh-huh.
a venue here in Los Angeles. They mostly do music concerts and events and whatnot, but they also do film festivals as well. And so
Okay.
um, we did a partnership, and we came up with a name, and it just resonated so much with us that we went ahead and reached out to them and said, is it okay if we go ahead and kind of move forward with this
Yeah.
name? And it just felt really right because it kind of captures very well kind of the spirit of what we want to have for the festival, which is kind of something that feels like, otherworldly, fantasy like. And that's kind of what we want people to feel when they step
And
into the theater and experience the magic
yeah.
of cinema.
Yeah. And it's a little bit more bite-sized too, right? It's
It's
a, it's a
true,
little
yeah.
shorter. Yeah.
It makes it
That's
so much
go ahead.
easier.
Yes, yes. And speaking of the film festival, because I know you're originally from San Diego,
I am, yes.
right?
So, yes.
Awesome. And what go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just yes, I am. I am from San Diego, native, and but at this point, I guess I've been living in LA as much as I was living in San Diego. So I'm in like
Yeah.
a weird limbo now.
Did you come up with the film festival, the conception for it? Did you come up with that in San Diego or in LA?
It was in LA. So in San Diego, I grew up in North Park before it became bougie.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
back when it was a little bit more dangerous because we were on
Yeah,
the El Cajon side. Very different than the
exactly.
world that is today. But
Very.
grew up there, and I went to my undergrad at UC San Diego, and then after I graduated there, I moved to LA. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I had to move out of San Diego so that I could explore the movie business, because
Yeah.
unfortunately it's all kind of centered here in Los Angeles. And so I came up here. I worked for AmeriCorps for a year, and then I got into my graduate program at Cal Arts. And for those who
Awesome.
don't know, Cal Arts is it's what they call the Disney school, but it's actually filled with very strange
Okay.
school, so it's not as cute and cuddly as it seems. It's actually quite a deviant space. And so it's a place where clothes is optional. So that just tells you a
Okay.
little bit about the school, but it's great
Yeah.
because the people are, um, you get a lot of creativity that kind of just from being in the space. But when I was at Cal Arts, I attended they would have symposiums every now and then for the students. And I went to the Gina Davis Institute on Gender in Media symposium, and she came to
Oh,
Cal
nice.
Arts. It was really exciting because, Gina Davis, Beetlejuice, who doesn't know who she
Yeah.
is?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so she was talking about animation and how she created this institution so that her daughter could have a space that kind of broke the kind of like the mold that we have when we think about characters in animation. It's fine to have, for example, like the heroine who is girly, but you also want to have all these other. It's okay to have the anti-hero. It's okay to have these like
Hmm.
other types of characters, and so I think that really resonated with me. And at the same time, I had taken a rock and roll in what was it called? It was called the history of rock and roll or something, and it was
Oh,
watching
nice.
different films that had to do with films that had that as the basis. And
Hmm.
I one of the options was, oh, you could make a film and so write an essay, and that's your final, right? And
Yeah.
having come from UCSD, I was a communications major, and then I turned into a visual arts major, but I was done with writing 30-page papers. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a movie. And so I was like, oh, what's gonna be an interesting kind of
Oh, yeah.
angle with that? And so I decided, oh, why don't I make kind of like a history of like rock and roll, but from like a like women's perspective, and just have all the iconic figures that would be kind of equivalent to like the Beatles or Bob Dylan
Yeah.
or just like
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
you think about. And so I embarked on that journey, and I created this documentary, which was really just a final. And you would see it like people who submitted projects, like you would end up watching it, or if someone would do like music or something if they were in the music department. So it's kind of really fun, a very creative space. And after I submitted it, other classmates, female classmates, started approaching me and just letting me know how empowering it was, how happy they were to have seen something like this be created. And at that time, which isn't that far away from it doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was in like 2012, 2013. I guess there just wasn't as much as there is now in terms of
Hmm.
having kind of like an equality of material being shown historically and whatnot. And so after that, we started doing little screenings, at the school. And then after I graduated, I felt like a huge hole was left in my soul. And I was like, oh, I really
Hmm.
want to continue, you know, having these conversations with artists, like watching different people's films. And I guess it just kind of led into a curatorial kind of, like, it just led me down that path, and I started what was originally Le Femme Underground International Film
Hmm.
Festival, and we're an official 501c3. And so it was a lot of work, like, you know, working towards creating all that from the ground up. No business experience whatsoever, came from like a really impoverished background. So, it was a lot of DIY, learning a lot as we were going forward. And it really has been so rewarding because I think, this is kind of my passion side job, not job, but this is
Hmm.
my side thing that I do. I have to have a main 9 to 5 to be able to, you know, uh, have
Yeah, of
be
course.
able to get it going. But I guess I don't mind putting in the funds and the time, because to me it's so fulfilling. Like, you need that for your soul sometimes, and it doesn't matter if it pays you. It'd be great if you could do that one day full
Yeah.
time, but I'm really enjoying the ride, and it's at this point this is going to be our 8th year. And so I'm very, very happy and very fortunate to be able to say that.
And starting it in the beginning, getting the 501c3, taking it from an idea and actualizing it in the real world, was it just you as a one person team, or did you have people kind of helping you around you to get that started?
It started off as a one person team, and I just started a conversation with other friends, and letting them, like, oh, would you be interested in doing this? And we started off in like very DIY kind of small Cinematex underground places. We still are kind of going down that route, mostly because I think I really like the atmosphere that it provides. There's something
Yeah.
really nice about going to a place that's kind of like the punk space for film, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was just what I really, yeah, I really love going to places that kind of show media like that as well, just like more intimate spaces. Um, but yeah, so it started off with just, friends, and from there it grew, and it's all volunteer run. We all kind of just donate our time, and I'm so grateful for them because people who have different talents, like one person's ended up going to business school and that's their strength, and
Yeah.
they're able to help like with the financial portion. Another friend is really good at like went to school for to be a what is it called, uh what is it, computer engineer, and so they're able to build out our
Hmm.
website. So it's kind of great being able to mesh it all together, because you no one has to all come from an art background to come and love
Yeah.
movies. You can come from different backgrounds and
100%.
different levels of experience, exposure, and I think that's what I really love about it, because we're all constantly, you know, watching and learning from each other in different ways.
And
So yeah,
connecting.
it started off uh, mostly solo, but had some friends join the team, and here we are today.
What got you into the experimental side of filmmaking? Like what drew you to experimental films?
Yeah, so I think I was always um, well, growing up, all I had available to me was whatever was showing at the library, whatever the library
Nice.
had to like
Yeah.
loan out, because that was the free way to like
Hmm.
rent out movies, right? So you get it for like 7 days, and you get whatever. You start working your way down the line, and then I found myself really drawn to experimental, like Czechoslovakian films, and you
Nice.
got the world cinema section in in the
Yeah.
library, because they usually have more geared towards educational. Now there's like libraries that have all, like, you don't even need to,
Hmm.
if you didn't have access, other than a DVD player, Blu-ray
Hmm.
player. It's kind of great that it's so much more accessible today to watch a lot more things that are a lot newer. Um, but I guess it started off that in that place, and then I got into Cal Arts. I was always a fan of Tim Burton. That's really what led me to
Okay.
Cal Arts.
Oh hell yeah.
Watching Nightmare Before Christmas, and
Yeah.
um, all like Edward Scissorhands. I was always into kind of like the gothic story, and I was like, oh, I love aesthetically what he's doing. I looked up other filmmakers that had attended Cal Arts as students. I looked at the roster of the filmmakers who were teaching there, and it just drew me there. I had you know I, I had the choice between going to USC and Cal Arts, and both equally great schools,
Hmm.
but when you're drawn, I knew I wouldn't be happy unless I went to Cal Arts, and maybe it's because it's like they call us like the weirdos on the hill. Like it's just like, it's I think you get exposed to a lot of experimental media, and I love animation, and I think experimental animation has always been something I've been really drawn to. If I could only draw, that would be
Yeah.
probably another path I would have taken. But yeah, I think it was just kind of going to school, being around that media, and just having these really great in-depth conversations with other people about them. And I think the weirder and more grotesque, the better for me. So it's like Nightmare Before Christmas is your gateway as a kid, and then you just kind of keep
Exactly.
keep getting further in. So that's kind of where I came from for experimental.
And in San Diego growing up, was there a place that you would watch films, or was there a theater you would go to, or was there anything that sticks out in your memories?
Yeah. Well, first off, the first one was just going to the library. Library was the greatest
Yeah.
thing, greatest invention in the world. Because we grew up being under resourced from a low social economic background. So the library was kind of like the best place, and the second best place
Hmm.
because I was raised by a single mom, so we kind of had to like every when we did get to go somewhere, the best place that does not exist anymore. I don't know if you
Oh
remember
no.
this. If you're from San Diego, the Vogue Theater in Chula Vista. Did you ever go to
Oh
that?
yes, yes. No, no, no. Because I've only lived in San Diego for 10 years too, so I am
Okay,
kind of
okay.
a little
Mhm.
bit of a newbie to San Diego. But the Vogue is still going on in Chula Vista, but I think it's been converted into like a bar or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's no
so
longer a theater.
yeah. I was so sad. So that was
I
the
know.
place because it what was so great about it is that they would do triple features for like a dollar.
No way.
And the reason
No
it was so
way.
cheap, yeah, like no lie, we would take the bus 2 hours just so we could watch three movies for a dollar.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
so yeah, the reason it was so cheap is because they would do kind of they released what were like the like first run features, but they were either about to go on to video or they had recently just been released like or what was it, they were either going to go on to video or they're about to go out of the theater circuit. And so that was like
Okay.
the last run, like the last step before it was no longer on the screen. And so we like love that place. It was the best. Like high school when I started having like a little bit more money because my first job was at the San Diego Zoo. um
Oh nice, nice. Oh yeah.
and so yeah, from there, I was able to like actually go to things and watch them, and that was the best place in the world. Now, when I go to San Diego, I guess when I just watch like any like big commercial film or whatever, I'll go to Hazard Center because that's the next best thing to me. And
Nice.
I
Yeah.
really like the space because I kind of like the fact that it's that the seats are actually pretty nice and they're a lot newer. I don't know that I love AMC's so much. But
Yeah.
that's my just because they're always like tattered. I don't know. Now they have a weird line for like concessions where you wait like an hour just to like get to the front. But I love Hazard Center. So that's where I go
Awesome.
now whenever I go visit. But back in the day, the Vogue was the best
Vogue.
place
Vogue.
in the world.
Three for
Um,
one. Three for a
three
dollar.
for
Oh my
one. It
God.
was such a
Wish
great
that I
deal.
missed that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I know.
And where do you go now? Like when you're in LA, is there a theater that you usually go to that you have an awesome time at?
Yeah, so now I kind of go more towards kind of like archival older
Yeah.
films. So the places that I love going to are the New Beverly,
Mhm.
any of the locations for the American Cinematheque. So that includes the Egyptian, the Arrow, Los Feliz 3. I have yet to go to the Vista Theater, which is the new theater that opened up the Tarantino,
Yeah.
and they do
I saw
mostly
that.
first runs. Yeah, it's a beautiful movie palace. I'm very excited to go to that one. I might go to Dune because I feel like Dune needs to be seen in
Yeah.
like a giant screen, and they're gonna show it on 70 millimeter, which is amazing. So
Nice.
I might just do that one next.
Amazing. Amazing.
Um, but I usually go to those, and then, but then also the American Cinematheque also shows like newer films as well. So I kind of get a little bit of everything. But I think I just really enjoy the audiences there. The theaters are
Yeah.
always packed, no matter what. They're always filled. Um, and the audience reactions of going to films like those in those spaces are just so much more energetic and like just makes you feel like you're like I don't know, it just makes the movie magic as they say is really present. And I think it pales in comparison to like I keep saying AMC because that's the like the main
Most,
the main
yeah.
one,
Yeah.
right? But you go to an AMC or something, like not to put any like shade on AMC. It's great.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you're going in the movie theaters, it doesn't matter so long as you're going. But
Exactly.
sometimes
Exactly.
you'll see people on their phones and stuff, and they'll have the brightness all the way up. And what's really great is that in these spaces, which may not be so much for the non movie buffs, but they make an emphasis: if you're on your phone, you are out.
Oh yeah,
And
because there's a respect there, right? Everybody has a
yeah,
respect for what's on screen.
exactly. And so I really like going to those places. Those are like kind of my frequent places. And funny enough, I just recently moved now up in Santa Clarita, which is still near LA, but I live 10 steps away from a Lamley. And so now I literally just walk like one
Walk over
minute
to the
and now I
theater.
could just go to a Lamley. So that's been
Heck
my
yeah.
new place now because I go like on a Tuesday when there's no one there, and I'm like, yay, I have a space to myself. So so yeah, that's kind of my
And
go tos.
how did you find, because I think the new venue for the film festival, or I don't know if it's a new venue, but the current venue that you're
Mm-hmm.
holding the film festival, it's Whammy? Is
Yes,
that the
that's
name
right.
of it? Whammy?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Whammy. Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the venue?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So the full
Yeah.
name is Whammy Media and Micro Cinema, but people just call it Whammy. And
Okay.
what's really cool about them is that they're like a VHS store, and also, so they mostly sell VHSs, and you can rent out VHSs too. And there's like a whole
Oh wow.
community of people who have really, like really gone all in and still embrace the nostalgia of the video store, you know. And so it's kind of such a cool place to be able to see that. And they have a little micro cinema that seats about 50 people, 50 seats, and so
Oh
it's really
nice.
small. And they'll have screenings like every day. They'll have workshops where people can learn how to shoot on film. And
Oh
so
cool.
it's a really wonderful place where people can go and really get um, immersed in movies, and those who have not gone or seen a VHS can come and experience it. And
Nice.
I think they also rent. I may be misspeaking, but I think they also rent out like VHS players. So if you wanted to kind of
Oh
borrow
wow.
one,
So if
you
you
don't
don't
have
have one,
any.
oh
Yeah. So you could still watch.
nice.
Um, so yeah, that
Awesome.
place, we were looking for different venues before we would show at the Echo Park Film Center, which was in also in the
Hmm.
same area in Echo Park, but they unfortunately their brick and mortar closed down, and so they still kind of do
Okay.
things like as pop-ups, but we were kind
Hmm.
of looking for a space that kind of had that same energy, and there's something so nice about mixed media and being able to go to a place that's so
Yeah.
nostalgic, and like their logo kind of reminds me of like the 90s Nickelodeon kind of, like those highlighter colors. So just like going into the space, you get happier, like, this brings me back to my childhood at least. We would also go to thrift stores a lot, so we had like dozens of VHSs, anything people got rid of at
Yeah.
Goodwill or in garage sales. So we would pick up the most random assortment of films. And one of the films that which is really, this is a really strange one. So my mom is incredibly Mexican Catholic, so it's very very conservative. So it's strange that she allowed us to
Hmm.
watch this. But the if you've ever seen Nightbreed, have you ever seen Nightbreed?
Oh yeah, I believe so. Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we
The
grew up
the
watching.
horror film. Yeah.
Horror, yeah, that's right. We grew up watching that. Can you believe it? That's such a like it's such a violent film.
Right?
It's so graphic. And somehow we were allowed to watch it, and we would all watch it together as a family. All the VHSs would
Oh,
be watched
nice.
many, many times. And so maybe that's where my love of these weird like
Yeah,
grotesque
I'm sure.
things come from. For those who haven't watched it, Clive Barker's in it. I forget if he's the director, but it's like a very like the best way I could compare it to is like kind of like Hellraiser, kind of like these grotesque beings
Yeah.
uh, that exist in this space that do horrible things to one another. But my mom couldn't speak English, so like you
Yeah.
watch a movie, you're kind of just watching it for the
Yeah.
appreciation of the monster element. So that was kind of like
Oh
growing up.
yeah.
It's just we would go for monster movies because there's little dialogue, there's just action, and everyone
Yeah.
can understand what's going on. So
And it's entertaining as hell. It's awesomely
exactly.
entertaining.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I mean that was kind of some of the films, yeah, that yeah, inspired what like the things that I'm into now. But yeah, video rentals had always been a part of our life. And there was a what was it? A Blockbuster down the street. It's now a car place, I think. Like
Oh
a
wow. I'm sure.
like a what is it called? They sell like a Jiffy Lube or something. I forget what it is.
In San Diego, they told me that before my time too, but they told me before I moved here that there was a independent. There was a few like well-known independent video stores, like in
That's right.
Kensington area,
Mhm,
kind of thing
mhm,
that were
that's
pretty well
right.
known. Did you have any experience with any of those?
Yeah, I mean, we would go there as well, and like I think when they were closing down, we definitely bought a
Oh,
lot of VHSs. So yeah, they were everywhere. It was really great. And then I had like the what is it? Once I was like older and I could afford it, I got like a subscription to Blockbuster. But it was so sad because I that was short lived. I only got
yeah.
to like I think I had it for like 4 months and I had paid it
Mm.
off, right? And then suddenly Blockbuster's like, we're shutting down. I was like, no,
I know.
I paid for a year. So I was
What
really
the
sad.
heck?
Yeah. It's like right when I was able to do it.
I know.
Um, but it is what it is. At least it's coming back in some sort of way.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And I can't wait to visit Whammy, as a part of that, to basically see that and also get to experience the film festival,
Yes.
and the film festival is going on for a couple of days, right?
Yeah, so it's a 2-day event. It's
Okay,
March 22nd and 23rd. That's a Friday and a Saturday. It's
awesome.
from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And in between those, we're gonna have giveaways. We're gonna have vendors as well. One of our vendors, which I'm pretty excited about, she actually uh, I had met her first because she submitted a film to us, which is a horror film, and but she went on to become a comic book writer, and her name is Kaden Phoenix.
Oh,
She's
wow.
so she does. She's a
Awesome.
queer Chicana comic book writer, and she does a lot of films that have like Latinx superheroes. And she's made so many since I first met her, and it's incredible. They're all great. You could go to any comic book shop. You
Awesome.
go to like anyone in San Diego as well, and you just look up Kaden Phoenix. You see her like wonderful I was gonna say
Super cool.
filmography, but that's not the same. Comic bookography,
Photography?
her body of work. So
Yes,
she's
yes, yes.
so she's gonna be there as well, vending,
Awesome.
which I'm really excited about. And yeah, we're gonna have a mixture of narrative films, which is that section's called Youth in Altered States. Then
Yes.
after that is going to be what's the other ones? Let me remember.
Gore
Belladonna of
galore? Oh,
Gore Galore. That's right. That's right. So Gore Galore, which is self-explanatory, is like horror and genre and whatnot. Then we have
hmm
our Belladonna of Madness, which
Yeah.
is experimental animation, and then psychotropic cinema, which is kind of like experimental or like really or psychotropic cinema is
hmm
experimental but very psychedelic at the same time,
Yeah.
colorful, kind of like you see it and you feel like you ingested something.
Yeah, no, no,
um,
100%. Yeah. Eddie, our mutual friend Eddie from Popcorn Reef, is going to be judging or guest judge for the Gore Galore section
that's
of
right.
the
That's
film
right.
festival. So super excited about that. And he's going to have a really hard time judging that because there's so many good films, like so
Yeah.
many good films. We watched the whole Gore Galore. You sent the screeners ahead of time and we got to check them out and kind of blown away at like the production budget, the art direction. I mean, these are awesome films, like super high quality, like entertaining. Like I watched the whole thing right through and I'm like,
Oh,
I didn't
great.
envy Eddie because I was like, Eddie, you got a hard decision
Yeah,
to make
no, it's
because
hard.
there's like multiple films that could win that.
Yeah,
prize kind of thing. So
yeah.
that's super, super awesome.
Yeah, no, and I'm so grateful that he agreed to be one of our jury members, and a big fan of what Popcorn Reef programs. Real like all of those are really great deep cuts that
Yeah.
I love and enjoy. And so yeah, it's so great. And all like a lot of these filmmakers, we try to show things that sometimes maybe aren't shown in other places, because sometimes a film festival will maybe choose something based off of their, maybe their like how big their budget was, or
Hmm.
I think we try to aim towards, you're really like trying to give people a foot in the door, like I think as a
Hmm.
filmmaker, it could be very discouraging to keep making work and not be recognized. And we try to recognize those filmmakers so that they could continue doing work, because one day they're going to have a huge budget, because talent is talent. And when they,
Yeah.
the more you're in the festival circuit, the more people are going to see your name and recognize you. And sometimes you just need an opportunity to be able to do that. And so we try to give that opportunity to filmmakers. And so I'm so excited that you enjoyed the films. And I'm so
Yeah.
excited for people to watch them. And it's great. Every year you get a different, you know, whatever's happening in the real world, like that affects the films that get submitted. So it's so interesting seeing how they change year after year. And so it's kind of fun seeing that evolution.
And do you get a lot of repeat filmmakers from festival to festival, or were a lot of the films you got submitted this year were from directors the first time you've
These
met
ones are
them,
new.
basically?
Yeah,
Or
none of the ones
oh,
we accepted this year have
wow,
been repeat, which is really great, because it just means
wow,
people are still
awesome.
creating work and they're submitting it. And every so often we do have a filmmaker that comes back. And what we pride ourselves in is that if a filmmaker submitted to our film festival, and again, if they don't have the funds, and I think this comes from the fact that I came from a very underprivileged background, we'll give them a waiver. Like, if you can't afford to submit to the
Hmm.
film festival, then, we'll give you a waiver. We work on a sliding
Okay.
scale, and those are the funds that we use to be able to rent out the venues. And so I try to make it a very like accessible space for people, because I think that's important. And especially with the pandemic, I'm like affected a lot of people like financially
Hmm.
and whatnot, but that shouldn't stop people from making art, so long as they
Yeah.
have a camera.
And a space, and you're giving people a space to kind of showcase these films, because when I was watching them, I had to watch some of them on my phone or my laptop, and I'm like, oh, the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, I want to see this on a big screen.
Yes,
Like
yes,
all of these films, like, oh my god, like I was watching the Belladonna of Madness, and literally like, for almost an hour straight I was hypnotized. I
yes,
felt like I was really mesmerized.
yeah,
As one film ended, another one came into it, and it was just like they put a birthday cake on a vinyl, and I was like, oh my god, I was loving all of it. So, but the whole time I was thinking, like, I can't wait to see it on a bigger screen.
yes, yes. I mean, the big screen, it really makes a difference. I mean, I feel like all media, if possible, should be watched in the big screen, because that's how you
Definitely.
see all the little details that, like, I feel like each time you see a film on the big screen, maybe you see your focus somewhere else, and it's like a new experience each time. So, so I'm glad
100%.
that you enjoyed it. Uh,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for people to watch what we have in store.
No, 100%. And there's also, how did you come up with the different sections? Like you said, there was the Belladonna of Madness, the youth section. Like, how did you come up with those?
Well, they're all play on words of some films that I really love. You may notice
Okay.
some of them. And so I think it's like it started off with, I guess, like I wanted a festival that felt like neon colors everywhere. And I wanted something that
Okay.
where like you see it and it's like a flash of color. So it kind of started with psychotropic films. And
Okay.
like the films kind of dictate themselves, because like depending on what you get submitted, they start kind of melding really well together. And so it's like I we put in so much time to like carefully select each one and making sure they kind of go together and have some
Hmm.
sort of like tone. Um, but but yeah, I think it was just like, okay, I think it really maybe was based off like, what do I like?
Yeah.
Animated films, horror. You need to have coming of age because there's so many things that could happen. That's kind of like in a way it could be horror because that's when
Hmm.
people are growing up and they're having to face like the like
Yeah.
grotesque side of humanity. Um, and so I think it just kind of grew from there. Like these different sections that just felt like a good, like when you go to the festival, like I wanted to feel like you kind of got like your full dish of like different genres, and like it kind of creating the bridge of like maybe you don't like experimental film, or maybe you've never seen an experimental film, but maybe now like it's kind of like a gateway for you to explore a new genre of filmmaking that you
Yeah.
hadn't seen before. And so I kind of like want to, I guess, not necessarily as an educational tool, but it almost feels like it because then you get to kind of see what there is and see these like very like um almost like opposite films of one another, like so I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of like where that came from. Is just wanting to give someone like a very robust, like quick, like flash experience to all these different types of films and be like, here's an hour of insane madness and here's this other hour of insane madness. So that's kind of where that came from.
And it also says that the film festival is a traveling film festival. What does the
That's
traveling part mean?
Yeah. So for the last 2 years, this year included, we've kind of just stationed ourselves at Whammy, which we really enjoyed. And before that, we showed at the Arrow, which was it was very opposite to the Underground. There we
Yeah.
showed some this amazing film called Scarecrow in the Garden of Cucumbers, and it's like this 1970s kind of like, the best I could compare it is like kind of like a John Watersy kind of tone to it. And anyway, we showed it there in the year before, the 2 years. So it's like a weird timeline. But yeah, we've traveled to San Diego back when Digital Gym was in El Cajon.
Oh,
Now
right.
it's
Yeah.
in downtown, I think, San Diego.
Yeah. East
Um,
Village kind of area.
that's right, yeah. We've gone to Boston, we've done
Oh,
Arizona,
nice.
um, and so we kind of have been traveling throughout all of the Southwest mostly. And so we are planning on traveling some more. We'll reveal that when the time comes closer. But
Right.
yeah, it's really great because you get to know different organizations, different venues,
Yeah.
and just like the landscape that that place has. And you learn a
Hmm.
lot about people's like thresholds. Arizona is very conservative, and we showed the most not liberal, but in like explicit material in the world.
That's what you're
And
supposed to do, right? In
yeah, and
Arizona. That's
it was
awesome.
I
Yeah.
think it was kind of fun seeing people's reactions because you're kind of giving them a culture shock of like, this is what this is like, like maybe
Yeah.
you don't watch this necessarily. Some festivals do more commercial work, so, and that's fine as well. But I think I really enjoy the traveling aspect of it, and just it allows us to just get to know places and people a lot more. And while it could be very challenging as well, because if you're
Hmm.
kind of creating a new um kind of like a base audience everywhere, you have to recreate it each time and gather people. But there have been filmmakers and who weren't showcasing at the film festival, but they traveled to go watch it, and that was really great
Oh, wow.
despite the fact that it's kind of moving around. Um but yeah, that's kind of I think it just came from a place of wanting to know the whole world.
Well, speaking of that, you also had some international filmmakers that submitted films to the
That's
festival
right.
too. How did you get connected with that circuit of meeting international filmmakers?
Well, they all submit through Film Freeway, which is the platform, and
Okay.
they'll submit their works there. And well, we get so many submissions, and it's so hard. like it's really hard to narrow it down. Like we're really like it's great to be able to get that many submissions from all over the world, but then having
Yeah,
to chisel down to just like a couple. You know, I think we usually do between 20 to 30 shorts, which is a lot, but it's like not
yeah.
that much compared to what's submitted. And so we're always really, really sad to not be able to showcase them all. But luckily, we get such a diverse amount of submissions, and
Hmm.
it's amazing when people come out and like come in to the festival. We're
Yeah.
actually having one of the filmmakers, I forget the title off the top of my head, but one of the filmmakers is traveling from France, this to view her film, and it's going to be a premiere. So I'm so excited because when
Oh,
people are
cool.
traveling and it's their first time in that city, and this is kind and they get to see all, their work presented on the screen. I think there's like something really nice and special about that. So yeah,
And
like
which was her film? What was
I'm
the
trying to
French
remember.
film? What was?
It
Oh,
was
okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I wish. I just remember thinking like, oh, okay, this person's traveling this far.
But that's super cool that she's coming basically to the whammy to from France to basically watch
Yeah,
it
yeah. She
screened for the
so
first time. That's awesome.
she was able to get see, I remember all the details, but I can't remember the filmmaker's name. We what is it called? We had like she submitted like a grant proposal so she could get a travel grant just so that she come here. So she's using her resources, which is great.
Heck yeah.
But I was like, that's so cool that they do that they like that's an opportunity artists have in other parts of the world. But yeah, it's always like, I guess, connecting with the international filmmakers. They all use the same platform, and you just
Awesome.
kind of select them off of like whatever feels, you know like something that would mesh well with the others and that people would really enjoy. So I guess that's kind of how we select.
I think I saw one of the international films where I think it was at a rest stop, or it was at somebody
Oh yeah,
had
piss on the
used the restroom.
patriarchy.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it was awesome. I was like, oh, that was
yeah,
super cool.
that's our
So
opening film, so I'm like really excited for
yeah,
you to watch that one. That's
hell
almost like a
yeah,
horror one, but I felt like that was like a youth and altered state. Like you're coming of age.
yeah, yeah. But you're right. It kind of teetered on horror
Mhm,
too.
mhm.
But like the other one, the other opening one for Gore Galore, I think is that going to be Overkill?
I Yes, that's right, and that's
Ye-
kind of like a
Awesome.
what is it called, a Groundhog's Day situation.
Yes, I noticed that in there. Yes, there was some Groundhog's Day element with a little Valentine's Day themed, and I really love the color in that. And like I was saying, I was like, wow, the production design on and everything, like they really their use of color, and I
Mhm.
was just like, I was all in. I loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, it pops. I was really impressed
Right? Yeah.
because you watch when you watch it for the first time, you don't really know what to expect. You're like, oh, okay, this is where that's going.
I know. It takes you a second, but then once you're into it, you're like, oh, okay, okay, okay. This is
Yeah, because
awesome.
it feels very like, I love the films that kind of feel bubblegummy at first, and then suddenly it turns a corner,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay, I like this.
And you get to see the two main characters kind of gets basically meet their demise a bunch of different ways. You
Yeah,
know, it's
which is
like
so fun. I
it's
mean,
really
it's
cool.
like, I mean,
Yep.
who doesn't love 100 Ways to Die?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly, exactly. So that's awesome that this is coming up in less than less than a month, right?
Yeah, yeah, just a couple weeks from now.
What are your next few weeks look like for you?
Man, busy. It's just gonna be, it's like connecting with the jury members and seeing what their selects are, so that we can announce them at the day of, or the jury member will announce them, if they are able to attend and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then let's see, it's just like all those little details that make up the event once you go there. But our tickets are up officially on sale on Eventive or Eventbrite, sorry.
Awesome.
And you can go onto our website, femtasiafest.org, and just go to the lineup, and you'll have a button to purchase tickets, and they're really cheap. They're like $10 each day.
Oh,
So like you
oh
get
my god, cheaper
all
than the
these
cinema, and you
movies.
get all these movies, and they're
Yeah.
quality movies. I'm telling you, if you're watching now, they were super, super quality movies. You curated very, very movies that go together, that blend together, and that are like a variety. They're all distinct and diverse, and it's awesome all the way through. You guys did an excellent
Yeah.
job.
And there's giveaways. Like if that is not enough,
Nice.
for the pure element of cinema, in
Yes.
support of a nonprofit, there's also going to be giveaways. So we got a lot of
Nice.
great donors this year. So you're going to see, you just show up, maybe answer a random question, and you like most people leave with a prize in their hand, and that's what we want. We want everyone to be
Awesome.
a winner.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And also, should we bring our own concession with us, or should we bring a couple of snacks with us, or will there be some
They
food there?
actually have concessions there. So they sell alcohol as well. So if people want to
Cool.
unwind, they do have
Nice.
beer, I think as
Cool.
well, wine maybe, but they definitely have snacks like a regular cinema would. It's a smaller cinema, but they have all the bells and whistles when it comes to snacks. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I
Course.
watched your
Thank you.
other podcasts as well, and they were so great, so
Cool.
entertaining, so like
Thank
it's a
you.
great like kind of like a great space for people to get to know the organizations around them and
Yeah.
want to go to those spaces. So I think that's very much needed, especially in San Diego. I think San Diego, while it has a great selection of film festivals, of which I've been jury members for a couple of them. I think it's
Oh
great to
yeah.
have like a platform where people could kind of learn more about, different things and organizations and just what people are doing because, I think people respond
Yeah.
really well to podcasts and to visuals and all that. So I'm so thankful to have been invited to be a part of this and I guess hopefully people will come to the event and
Yes.
will come
Yes.
watch
Yes.
some
Yes.
great
And we'll be
films.
posting about it. We'll be promoting it. You might see right now we're in an actual sewing shop right
That's
now.
awesome. I was like, what is this really cool? Like, I can't tell what they are, but I love what's like
The little
it looks like,
I don't even know what they're called, but
like, are they
it's
tassels?
tassels. Yes, 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 little tassels on top. But basically, this is my wife's sewing studio, and we have a shop in Barrio Logan. We've had it
Oh,
for like the last
nice.
2 years, and
Uh-huh.
she takes thrifted clothing and she reworks it and everything
Ooh,
like that. We rework it in the
yeah,
back. But it was so cool because I saw one of the films. I think it's like
that's
all
right. The
all the women's. I forget
oh,
the title.
yeah,
It's
women.
from Film Out. I think it's
That's
like
right.
presented by
Yeah. So
Film
they're
Out
going to
this
be
week.
co-presenting it. Oh my gosh, why can't I see? It's like when you have all this information mashed in your brain, it's like I think it's like all the women parts or something.
Something
Um,
like that. And
and it's such a
I
great. Oh man, yeah. That's a.
think
I have so many things to suggest for your wife to if she's into horror, or maybe it's a good gateway for you both to watch.
yeah,
Um, if you haven't seen, well,
yeah.
this is more like not as kind of, if you've seen The Stylist, the film, it's a feature film. It kind of goes into like the world of like hairstyling, but then like a little bit of like sewing and whatnot. There's like an
Oh,
Elijah
cool.
Wood movie that he's like a he sews like
Oh, wow.
things up.
Elijah Wood.
Yeah, he's actually really great in horror. It's you wouldn't
No
think
way.
so because you think of
Yeah.
him as like being this like really bright and cheery person. But funny enough, like he loves horror. Like I went to back in the day before it shut down due to controversial reasons. There used to be a place called Cine Family, and then now
Uh-huh.
I think the new place is called Brain Dead Studios. Anyway, like I went to go watch what was it called? Begotten, which is like this really kind of uncomfortable, like experimental film where someone kind of looks. I mean, I won't go into. I don't know what is permissible to describe, but it's just like a really like kind of uncomfortable film. And he was in the lobby, and he's just like buying concessions, and they invited him onto the stage. He wasn't a special
Oh,
guest or anything. They were just like, "Oh,
wow.
Elijah Wood's here," and then he just
Come
talked
on
about
up.
how, yeah, yeah, and I
That's
guess like
awesome.
he loves horror films and that's his like favorite genre. And
Oh,
um
wow.
and so like yeah, he did a really great one. I'm gonna have to send you a list afterwards because I can't remember the title, but essentially it's like a remake, I think, and he kind of plays this person um who is a seamstress. Is that the
Okay.
right term for anyone? The seamstress.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Seamstress. Yeah.
and so uh yeah, and then it kind of goes down this like kind of dark dark path. But yeah, that's another good one.
I
Did she
love
get to
that because
watch
I've
this one
always
with you?
the which one?
Do
The
you like horror?
Yeah, fuck yeah, 100%, 100%. I love horror. Claudia's a little bit more timid when it comes to horror, but I love horror, and I've always seen Sewing as very mysterious and ripe for a horror
Oh
plot or
yeah,
anything
I
like
mean,
that because you
there's
got all
so
the scissors and the needles, and it's
it's a
just
dangerous thing to do. So,
it is, it is.
and, and talented, and yeah, I'll have to send you a list. Not to traumatize your wife, I guess, like because then she's gonna be sewing and thinking to herself like all these dark thoughts in
And
her.
funny connection too is I was looking on your events list on your website of places that you previously had the film festival, and
Mhm.
one of the venues that you had the film festival at was the House of Brews in
That's
San Fernando. Does
right.
that ring a bell?
R.I.P. It
And
closed
that was the first.
down.
I know. That was the first place my wife Claudia, when she still lived in San Fernando, she had her tote bags there.
Oh
Before we had the
wow.
shop or anything like that. And she's from San Fernando, born and raised. So we loved the House of Brews when we would go there all the time
Oh
and stuff like that. And we were super sad to see it
yeah, it
close
was such
too.
a cool
But
spot. Like
yeah,
they definitely invited artists out to be like to put on events and stuff. But I think it was ahead of its time in the location,
yeah,
and
yeah, no, 100% exactly. Because San Fernando, now that they're having these outdoor almost festivals every month and stuff like that, where the San Fernando Mall is. So
mm-mm,
yeah, even Claudia, when she goes back now, she's like really surprised to see how much how much I guess it's growing or there's businesses there now and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
So
That's my
it's a
experience.
bittersweet. It's a kind of a good and bad thing.
Yeah, that's my experience when I go back to San Diego each time. And like North Park is just like the not even the ghost of what it used to be. And I'm like, what is this new
Fully,
building?
just fully gentrified. Yeah,
It's just getting like taller and taller. Yeah, like
I
it's
know.
like $3,000 to $5,000 to rent there. I'm like, my
It's
God,
insane.
this used to be where no
Even
one
here
wants.
where we're and we're on in Barrio Logan, we're on Logan Avenue. We live in, have a house in the back and this is our shop.
Mhm.
But even here, like this past year and stuff like that, the rents are just skyrocketing,
Yeah,
but
gentrification.
insane.
It's a fickle one. Good and bad
I know.
for different
Right?
reasons.
We just
Depends,
have to
right?
sell more clothes, I guess. We have
I
to make more
know.
clothes.
Oh my gosh. Well, now you gotta put her on the podcast, and then that way
Yeah.
and then you could have one where you talk about like horror films that have to do with sewing, and then she could demystify
Oh,
whether or
wow.
not it's accurate. Just giving you ideas. Take it.
I think you just gave me the next idea. I think you're going to
Yeah.
see this on the podcast. And if you have
No,
any more ideas, please feel free
oh,
to
I
send them
will.
my
I mean,
way,
you already have the perfect background for it. You already got you got the tone
right?
set up, you know?
I know I got a sewing machine over here, like the
See, there
sewing
you
right
go.
next to the sewing machine.
That's perfect. No, I'm telling you, now you have to do it. And then somehow you'll do like,
Right?
somehow do a retrospective on like movies like horror sewing movies. There's a lot. There's a lot out there.
And then I could submit it to the festival, right? Or
There
we
you
could do like a
go.
revolving.
Done.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Well, on that note, Edda, I thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. This was awesome and this was fun. And this is the first time I've done an interview like this, and it went really well. And I'm just super happy and super grateful that you took your time to kind of do this.
Of course, yeah, and this was great. I think the setup was awesome, and be sure all you out there to come check out Femtasia Fest on March 22nd and 23rd at Whammy. You get your tickets at femtasiafest.org. Go onto the lineup and you'll find the ticket link to our Eventbrite page. It's only $10. You get free giveaways, and most importantly, great company and great movies. See you
Yes,
all
yes, yes. Awesome, awesome.
there.
Thank you, Edda. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.